Welcome back to the morning show here on Oriiz. The Benin Monarchy, an anthology of Benin history, also known as the Benin Red Book, brings together the manifold intersecting worlds of the finest traditions, history, and modernity to create for the reader a chronicle that illustrates all the features, personalities, and dynamics that have framed the monarchy, and a kingdom as fascinating and intriguing as theirs among the whole community of humanity.
In the minds of outsiders, the people of Benin and the culture of Benin are overwhelmingly associated with the superb Benin bronzes, carved ivory, and terracotta works displayed in museums and held in private collections across the world. This book demonstrates clearly that the bronzes are only a small part of the culture and history of a unique people whose ancient kingdom is now part of Nigeria.
Join us to discuss more on this fascinating book, what it will do in enriching the storytelling on the Benin Kingdom and its monarchy. Its significance to Nigeria's social-cultural heritage is Oriiz Onuwaje, who is also the publisher of luxury and lifestyle magazine Masterpiece, The Art of Fine Living. Welcome to the morning show.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, Oriiz, you're welcome to the morning show. I was flipping through the synopsis of the book last night, and quite fascinating, I must say. Obviously a collector's item, and students and scholars of history will find it a good reference book at all times. But what struck me, 2 years on the throne, Omonoba Nedo Uku Apolopolo, Eware II, Oba of Benin, has been able to champion this drive of chronicling Benin history in a one-stop compendium, as it were, this book. So how it's like the Oba is very passionate about telling the Benin story in a new way, as it were.
Well, thank you very much, Emmanuel. His Royal Majesty is a seasoned diplomat. He understands clearly what soft diplomacy is. So upon ascension of the throne, he brought together a group, a very powerful group, to execute this project. And I had the privilege of being chosen as the editor, not because I was smart, but because Omonoba Eware II is an open-minded king who understands modernity, understands diplomacy, and understands the culture of his people. And he wanted a situation where this job was done with dispatch. And this is where we are today.
It seems like Benin to the world. Tell us about the work that you put into this. I heard 18 contributors, several months of hard work. Tell us how all of this panned out into the Red Book.
You see, I'll go very quickly to a parable that the donkey that took Jesus Christ into Jerusalem would have been foolish if he thought the applause was for him. This is not about my work. It's about the Omonoba's diligence an attention to detail on everything that concerns the kingdom. He is a man is passionate about preservation of Benin Kingdom, and he gave us the opportunity, I'll say privilege, to get near this awe-stricken monarchy, to tell the story to the world. And once again, I want to thank His Royal Majesty for giving us the opportunity to be part of this work.
This could have been pretty easy for you when it comes to the art. Benin is very rich in art. Art has been stolen away, taken away from our shores to other parts of the world. And of course, there are pictures of also the beautiful art that we have in Benin City. How much of this were you able to cover? And also, does that art, the form of making such beautiful art, does it still exist in the kingdom today?
You see, when we look at Benin art today, it's very easy to appreciate, compare the artworks with things around. These were artworks that were designed to stay inside the palace. It wasn't built or done for public consumption. But somehow, what I'll call the bittersweet story of Benin art. The British came, looted the palace, and moved these artworks overseas. Today, what they thought was bad has exposed the kingdom to the world as a center of excellence of sorts. For example, the Queen Idia mask that sits in the museum in Seattle. For me, that is the most fascinating artwork I have seen. This was done around 500 years ago. Men like you and me, carving with raw tools on ivory, and the precision, the expression on that art piece, like every other ivory piece of Queen Idia we have around the world, is just awe-stricken. The expression on that artwork is like I sleep and wake up with it every day. And it was used in 2 places in the book.
Okay, you talked about this work, 18 contributors, historians, anthropologists, essayists. Now, you talked about a common thread that runs through the article. Happens to be the antiquity and the glory of the Oba, the monarchy, which also is the story of the kingdom. Can you please just expatiate on what you mean by that? I read that in your own piece on inside the book.
As you will understand with me, I am new to Benin Kingdom because we are discussing history of over 2,000 years. But the history of Benin Kingdom and the monarchy, it's interwoven, because without the kingdom, there is no monarchy. Without the monarchy, there is no kingdom. All through history, the leader, God's representative on earth for the Benin man, is the Omonoba. And when you have what the Europeans would describe as a god king, it is almost impossible to separate the people and the monarchy. So with what the presentations that were done by the 18 or so contributors, it's like weaving a cloth. One thread goes in, another thread comes out. And it's all about the monarchy and the people.
You talked about this paradox that despite the affront, historical affront, i.e. the 1897 invasion of Benin Kingdom by the British, looting of masterpieces from the royal courts. And today they are the harbingers of Benin arts in different European capitals of the world. Now, you are an artist by training, a graphic artist and a digital media manager. Which of this artwork do you think really captures the essence and the technique that was representative at that period? And what they are doing now at Igun Streets, which is the artistic enclave of the Benin Kingdom. I don't know how you can compare both now.
You see, it's difficult. Apart from being an artist, I say that with tongue in cheek because I left art, as it were, and went into computing art. There's some difference there. But when you look at the details and the dexterity with which the sculptors, carvers, worked then, if you ask me what they did with ivory, what they did with metal, what they did with wood 500 years ago will be the iPhones of today.
I like that expression.
Yes. The question I ask is, 500 years ago, we showed this level of dexterity. What has happened to us as a people?
Does your book answer that question?
Yes.
Are you going to tell us the answer, or do we have to read the book first?
Read the book first.
Okay, you touched on several themes in the book, from the political and social developments in the kingdom to pre-colonial, colonial, and post-colonial eras in the book as well. Fantastic piece for literature students. Now, does the kingdom, is it a small assessment of Nigeria as a whole, or do you think Benin Kingdom developed differently from the rest of Nigeria?
Benin Kingdom has a unique story. Benin Kingdom is different. The systems that were put in place 600 years ago are effective in that kingdom today.
Like what?
The system of governance. The Oba is the head of the kingdom as Omonoba, and there are various departments in the palace. The Oba manages all of them, and the administrative structure that was set up by Obaeware I over 500 years ago is still in effect today. The persons who take care of the Oba's wardrobe, those families have been doing it for over 500 years. The persons who take care of the Oba's harem, it's been in that same line for so long.
How has modernization affected all of this?
Well, modernization is a wide term. From a distance, you could see satellite dishes inside the palace. So, there is modernization within reason. Because, like the Americans will say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Okay, now let's go back to the arts. Our arts masterpieces are done in major capitals of the world. Are we doing enough to take care and create more art within the Benin Kingdom? If I go to Benin Kingdom today, can I really see masterpieces properly preserved and exhibited like we have in major European museums?
In the course of this work, I was fortunate to visit 55 museums across 13 countries. And the common theme everywhere was the grandeur and the presence you feel when you get to the Benin exhibits. Today in Benin City, the National Museum has a decent display showing off Benin art pieces and other Nigerian pieces. But we need to do more to preserve this. And one of the things of Barry Ewari Foundation is taking on is to build a permanent museum on palace grounds so that the world can actually see these artworks in their actual location.
And it brings us to the issue of the economy of the Benin Kingdom back then and what it is right now. What you say would be a fantastic thing for tourism, for the Benin Kingdom and for Nigeria on the whole. But back then, when colonials, the British came to colonize us, and then they were trading in our art and slaves and all of that, how has the economy of Benin Kingdom evolved to these times? These times we're talking about states sustaining themselves as opposed to going to the federal capital for money. How has that affected Benin Kingdom? Or what is it with Benin Kingdom these days concerning the economy?
You see, after 1914, Benin Kingdom, as we always knew it, ceased to exist because Nigeria came into place. So you cannot divorce the problems, the issues we have in Nigeria today from what we have in Benin or Edo State. But this was a kingdom that was self-sustaining, that was strong. Because in those days, you don't expand as Benin Kingdom expanded by mere wishful thinking. It involved a lot. The military strategy, economic strategy, and it worked then. But the issues of today, we'll leave it to the experts.
All right.
Will this book clear some controversies concerning the origin of the Benin and the Benin Kingdom? Because not too long ago, in fact, at the coronation of the Oba, he made a particular statement which has been a controversy even before then, that indeed the Yorubas from, that is, the Oduduwa came from the Benin Kingdom. And when that controversy was raging, even the Oba of Lagos, because at the peak of its power, the Benin Kingdom extended up to Lagos, the coast of Lagos. And that indeed, I don't know what that question was answered in the...
Very quickly, there are certain names you have mentioned this morning. The Oba of Benin, the Oba of Lagos, the Oni of Ife, Oduduwa. Where do I fit in? How can I be answering questions about these giants?
All right, thank you so much. And congratulations on this beautiful piece. That's all. It's a masterpiece.
Yeah, it's a collector's item. It's a collector's item.
It's quite heavy. Over 500 pages. That's all from...
17 kilograms.
Oh, wow.
No, 7.2 kilograms.
Okay, 7.2 kilograms.
Some babies weigh this much. And that's all from Oriiz Onuwaje, who, up next on our take today, we'll be discussing the adverse effects of hate speech on social media. But before then, we'll take a short break on The Morning Show. Don't go away.